District babies are the best babies.
The district? The Central?
Can we talk about the South End got the most culture?
And how we came up with the gigs dance?
But what Seattle really got the gigger team.
This is Seattle from the inside out. From the inside out.
What's good, Seattle? Welcome to our third episode of the Youth Insider Podcast from the Inside Out, sponsored by Southeast Network. Today, we'll be discussing COVID-19 and how it has affected our community. Now, when I say community, I mean people of color of the greater Seattle area, more specifically Black and brown. So before we get into COVID-19 and exactly, how it has impacted our community as a whole, how has it impacted everybody like on an individual level?
So for me, I don't feel like it affected me a lot at all because doing online school, I was already doing that before COVID, so nothing really changed for me. The only thing that I was doing before COVID was like traveling and stuff, and that's the only thing that I haven't really, got to do. And I always online shop, so it didn't really affect me at all. But seeing it in the community, I could see it affected a lot of students, mainly colored students. So yeah, we'll get more into that in a little bit. So yeah.
For me, I feel like, same as Sudi, I was already doing online classes running start. But there is like a limit to like how much online schooling I could take. So like I kind of missed the classroom environment and having that one-on-one time with the teacher in person. And I feel like it affected like just me being able to see my family on a regular. Like I still can't really like go to my family's houses like just comfortably because of COVID and just risking exposure to people who've been exposed. And so like I feel like, it's impacted me that way.
Speaking for athletes, like if you're an athlete in the state of Washington and how they're pushing all the sports back, especially all the fall sports, they're getting pushed back to the spring, and it's just not like allowing people to express themselves playing sports and doing what they love to do. Kind of just like a takeaway, really. But
No, I feel that for me, I'll start with like academically. So me going to the school that I went to, Overlake, we're already working on computers for the most part. So the transition like wasn't that hard, like towards the end of the school year. For me and like more so my personal life and my family, it impacted us pretty hard because like my mom, she couldn't work for like the longest. She owns her own salon, and so like her work is very like hands-on and like in person, obviously by doing hair. So it's like she couldn't work for the longest. The city of Seattle didn't know what they like really were. My dad was like in the middle of transitioning positions for where he worked in the city. And then for me, I don't know when. I couldn't like really see my grandma. My grandma's like somebody like I grew up with. I call her my nana. And so like I couldn't see her for the longest, which just like felt pretty weird to me. But then like I would always check in with her, talk to her on the phone, talk about something going on in the community. And that was pretty much it for me. And then so digging deeper into how COVID-19 has affected us as individuals, like how did it affect you both positively and negatively in terms of like academics and community?
For me, I feel like there was a big change because we were more hands-on. I feel like when we were doing stuff for the community and, you could just do everything freely, no matter what it was, like events, all of that. And it's just different now because, everybody has to wear masks. But you kind of realize like how, like everything has germs and stuff on it. Like, I didn't even realize how much I touched stuff until I started. Because my mom, she made us clean the whole house, like deep clean, like every handle we touched, she made us clean it. When we went to the store, she said we could only go once a month. And we would have to take off our clothes before we walk inside the house. Mm-hmm. And like, there's like a mud room in the house. So we would have to put all our clothes in there. And my mom would give us a towel. And she had to take away our car keys because my sister used to try to sneak to go to like Joann's or something, like to buy art supplies. And like my mom, she was super strict about that because we would see our grandparents still. And she's like, if our grandparents caught it, she's like, who's going to take them to the hospital? Some people don't even care about it. Like, because in the beginning, she like already knew about it. She's like, it's going to get worse. I already know they're going to shut schools down soon. Mm-hmm. And then everybody's like, oh, you're being over dramatic. Da, da, da. And then the news came out and she's like, I told you guys. And then after a while, then she didn't really care because she's like, oh, we're not getting it really. But where we lived, it was, people would have COVID parties. Oh, and it was in a really small town, Walla Walla. And I was like, oh, they're on daily news on Snapchat. And my mom was like, that's fake. My mom was like, that's fake. I was like, Mom, people are having COVID parties. And yeah, so she was just really strict about that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing. But my mom always worked from home, so she was fine with being at home. But my sisters, they love going out. So she would just make us go on walks if we wanted to do something. And there was a point where my mom thought I had COVID. She locked me in my room and she would leave food at my room doorstep or whatever. And every time she left food there, she'd disinfect spray my room. And then she's like, stay in there. And I was like, okay. But yeah.
I feel like my auntie, she was already like a germaphobe before pre-COVID. So like she played a role in like just making sure everybody would just wash their hands and always like I never touched the door handles. I would always have like napkins or use my jacket or something. So like, and plus she used to like lay down, or she still kind of does lay down like napkins before she sits down. So like she's super germaphobe. So like that affected everybody around her too. And so like, yeah, just being clean, like extra clean is not a problem for me. And yeah, Same. That's pretty much.
Same though, because I would order Clorox wipes so much. Like, so when COVID happened, we've already had all the cleaning supplies because I was always a germaphobe. Like, I make sure my house is like super clean. My sisters, though, they're hecka messy. And I always had to clean up after them. But that's why my mom, she liked when I was there because I would disinfect everything. And I would I'm like really anal about that stuff. Like, I don't know. And I didn't like when people came over and stuff. So it was just too much.
For me, it was kind of weird. Like my grandma, at first she was kind of like dissing about it. She would like tell me I gotta put on a mask and stuff. She was like, I don't know if I should give you a hug. And I'm like, what? But just being safe and wearing a mask, I don't know, I feel like that helps. But like it's affected me, my life every day. Like, you know, I don't really get to see the people I used to see. Go to events I used to go to, practice with my team like a certain way. Football season getting pushed back. It really just affected my whole senior year, honestly, high school. But like, I would say a positive I took away from it was like, it gave me a lot of time to learn about myself, what I was doing, what I want to do, like the kind of people that are around me. Just like the whole quarantine was really like a learning process. I feel like even in like it's like a pandemic, it's supposed to be like bad, but you can learn from it too. So
yeah, I feel like a lot of people, especially people whose parents were like workaholics or weren't around a lot, they like learn to value their family a lot more. And then I heard a lot of people in marriages learn about each other more, and like a lot of people couldn't stand each other and like stand their family. But I don't know. Like when my sister came back from college, like we'd argue because we just get mad over like little stuff, like cleaning stuff. That's the only thing I ever get mad about with them is when they don't clean up after themselves and stuff. But I feel like a lot of people learned about themselves. Like there's positives and negatives. So also a lot of people probably value their family a lot more now and probably are going to take more breaks from like working and stuff to be with their family, because you notice like I bet a lot of kids even change the way they've acted if their parents are around more now because they had to be at home. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's a positive. A lot of people like value things a lot more. Yep.
Yeah, for me, I'm pretty much in the same boat as Franco. Like on one hand, just like thinking about school, and on another hand, just thinking about like myself. I don't know, like quarantine when Governor Inslee like put us on that help me out the stay at home.
Yeah, stay at home order.
Yeah, the stay at home order, like that really made me like think about like myself and like where I wanted to be, at least academically and career wise, and like that kind of helped me, figure out my major and stuff for school and really set myself up for that career. And then in terms of self, I don't know, I just got to know myself better, and then like really, I got to understand who I value and what I value, whether that be like activities, work in the community, or just like stuff for myself. And then so, my bad. Did you want to go?
Nah.
Okay.
I was gonna add I feel like everybody they got to take away from it, whether it was like physical things, mental, spiritual. For me, like I got to like really, I guess, get to know myself, and then like just growing as a person. I actually discovered just my outlet for music. Around that time, I was actually like writing a lot of songs back to back during that time. So like it was a good like self kind of reflection time for me. Same as everybody.
And then so going into how COVID-19 has like impacted us like as a community as a whole, like what are some things that you think like really took a hit because of COVID-19? Like whether that be like the way we learn in school or the way we go about like community activities or still trying to be an activist while things are still going on in the midst of a pandemic.
I feel like people who are involved in the community, they found a lot of resources for people in need and provided those to them for them to have an opportunity to get help. As well as just like the students in school, though, a lot of people don't know how to use the internet. And especially for little kids, like some parents can't even help them because of work and stuff. And some people don't have Wi-Fi or, just know how to use a computer in general. And the people that were supposed to help them, I don't feel like all of them were qualified because they were just volunteers. So I feel like it could be hard for a lot of people. And there was a lot of struggle in that, I know. So yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like that was a test for like pretty much the school district and like whether they can handle this type of like pandemic for the students. It definitely showed and exposed how they did not provide the necessary resources for their students. Because just shout out to, Southeast Network in collab with Jamal Crawford. He actually donated like a lot of gift cards to families from Rainier Beach and like in other families too, I'm sure. But like I was with my mom, we were delivering like the gift cards to people, and like I feel like, you shouldn't have to rely on external like resources. Like you should have that support within your own school, and like the funding and all that. We'll talk about that later, but like
right.
I feel like schools need to work on like just having a safety plan or like just a plan in general for when this kind of stuff would happen and what they're going to do to support their students. Like there was many students who didn't have their laptops or like they didn't have the hotspots or Wi-Fi. So like they had to rely on external resources again. And like, it was just a lot of stuff going on. Like it just showed like we're just so behind with our education system. And like, yeah, there's just a lot going on.
I don't really know. Like I be in class and like it just seems kind of like some teachers, they approach it like it's like we're actually in school, but some teachers like they just be acting like they don't be knowing what's wrong, or they'll be acting like I don't know. I don't know. Like some teachers that don't teach. Like I feel like I don't know how to explain it. Like there's like a lot of problems within the school system, and like Yeah, pretty much what Miracle said. Like, this really exposed it. Like, there's some teachers that were out before COVID. Like, they had some teachers replacing them. So, like, now that there's a new school year and those teachers are supposed to come back, but this is like, I don't know. It's like a lot of teachers didn't come back. The people that was replacing them didn't come back. They're just hiring new people to teach core classes like math, and yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know how they. I don't want to like talk bad about like school district or anything, but
Raw and uncut on here. Remember? Let's keep that in mind. Spit it out.
Okay. But wow. I also feel like a lot of the students, mainly in the Rainier Beach area, they dealt with a lot of struggles just because we didn't have the resources that other students had. Say, like kids in the north end, they already had laptops, so they weren't even worried about getting their student laptops and stuff. But all of a sudden, like, we've been trying to get laptops for a while now for our students in our area, and they're like, oh, you guys don't have the funding. But all of a sudden, when COVID hits and we have to have it, then they come out with it, and that's kind of like, whatever. Anyways, you'll hear more about that on our school funding episode. But I feel like there's been so many other resources, like, and a lot of
like NYC, the NAACP Youth Council, Sudi, Franco, all of us are pretty much part of NYC, and other organizations in the community for sure. But I feel like they played a huge role in like actually taking the time to list out those resources and then like speaking to families and kids, like letting them know about available resources. Like they played a huge role in that, and then they just spoke out about like how it's important for them to just like youth to be, aware of these resources so they can, they had to go to Starbucks and like connect them with the Wi-Fi there so they could be on their laptops. That sucks, by the way. Like we should have to be going to public services to get these Wi-Fi connections. But yeah, they played a role in making sure people knew about those.
And they were out here advocating for the students and just playing a big role so that students could have these resources, and so teachers in the district know what they're doing wrong so they could provide more resources and just a better learning environment for the students to make them feel comfortable. And also I feel like it's really unmotivated a lot of students because they don't have the motivation to want to log on to school every day. People would rather have that one-on-one interaction and be in school because it's better to like learn that way for a lot of people. I know for me, I don't really care because I'm more like independent, but I know majority of students would rather be in school and have that help instead of being online and then just dozing off because you have that option to do so. And yeah, I just feel like it's really hard for students and it's not really setting them up to succeed really. And
in a way, sorry to interrupt, but like in a way it kind of plays on like the lack of motivation in this generation. As we discussed in our pilot episode, I feel like there was already like kids that they didn't really want to be in school like already. And then like this kind of like confirmed that and then like just gave them a reason to not be in school, I guess. And then also there's kids who actually learned how to like be appreciative for what they had being in person, going to class, because like it's pretty much, it was built into their routine. So like once that was gone, they were kind of like, I don't know what to do now. Like, so there was just too much free time, I feel like.
Oh my bad.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to add on to Miracle's point. So also like looking into like, we'll say like the average student who doesn't want to be in school, we also have to like look at like, what our school system is like right now, specifically speaking on the Seattle Public School District. And then so it's like we have to question like why don't they want to be in school in the first place? And then we also have to look at like, is that going to carry over to this virtual online learning? And then how do we combat against that? But then thanks to organizations such as like NYC or AAMA, the African American Male Achievement Council, those changes are being made.
Cool.
I'm not gonna lie. There's actually a question like lingering around right now because Monday, Seattle Public Schools just called and said that schools are reopening January 27th.
I thought 23rd, something around.
Some January 20 something, but Seattle Public Schools said it. So I want to know how they're gonna approach handling COVID-19.
And how they're going to transition into having everybody go back to school. Like, are you going to limit the amount of students that are in a class? How are you going to do 6 feet apart? Like, I don't know. I just kind of want to see how that plays out. But you never know. There are some people that could push that to make it never even be a thing this year again. Because you never know. They kept saying we were going to go back in a month, 2 months, 3 months. And then we never went back to school. So you just gotta like see, you know, because they could say whatever, but things always change. So yeah.
Right. I mentioned like having that free time. Do you guys think like that having that free time created like a lot of space for trial and error for students, families, anyone?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of students are lucky too, because I'm not gonna lie. If you were allowed to slack that much and still get a passing grade, and you know that, I feel like a lot of people are also taking advantage of that. But I can't really speak on that, but I don't know. Kids should be in school in the first place, but I know it's hard for some people, but some people who could and have, I don't know, some kids just take advantage, I feel like. But how do you guys feel like when you had to do virtual school? Like, how did you feel about it? And did you feel motivated or what?
I don't know. For me, like as I mentioned before, so I went to Overlake, so we were already using computers. But the downside with that was like a lot of the teachers, well, given that, for lack of a better term, a lot of the students or the average student at the Overlake school was pretty tech savvy and pretty familiar with their technology. They actually gave us more work. And then they made classes longer. And then so like for me, especially as a second semester senior at the time, I was like not motivated at all. Like I almost like, I don't want to say like fail my classes, but I almost like just didn't do any work. Cause it's like, one, I'm like dealing with stuff at home. 2, it's like you're giving us all this extra work and I'm just like not trying to do it right now. And not even that I'm a second semester senior, but you want me to stay in class for like 60 to 75 minutes.
Yeah.
All like 6 or 7 classes, depending on their schedule. And then also do homework on top of that. So I'm literally locked in my room for like 15 plus hours. So it's like,
yeah,
not fun.
True. See, that's like a perspective like they don't really see how it is for students. So that's probably why a lot of people get unmotivated too. And of course, when you're like a second semester senior, you know, a lot of people are like, whatever, I don't care. And also COVID, if you failed a class and you like really couldn't pass, I think for a lot of people, they still get to graduate because they're like, oh, you know, they're sensitive to the students but that's a good thing, I feel like too, though, because it's hard. It was a hard transition. And this is the first time it happened. So I feel like that's fine, but I don't really know.
When it first like came in online learning the end of my junior year, I wasn't really messing with it. I'm not gonna lie. It was just hard for me transitioning. Like I was so used to being at school and, you know, asking the teachers and people in the class. And when it was online, that was just tough. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was him. Like my teachers was hitting me up like, "Yo, you haven't signed in a few days." It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know, but I don't know. Like I feel like this year online, they're not really teaching like that much. I mean, notes are notes, but like as far as like us learning every day, I just don't feel like I'm learning every day. And
I feel like they're trying to make it easier for students and trying to find ways. Some students are just still like they can't learn. It's hard for them to learn just because the whole fact they don't want to do virtual school in the first place. They'd rather be in school. And you got to like understand where those kids are coming from and why they don't want to be in class, because some people are just like, they don't want to be in class. But it's just more self-discipline. Not everybody has that. Like for me, I like force myself to go on the computer every day. That's the only reason why I could pass doing online school, because of self-discipline. And it's hard for a lot of students to do that because it's so easy to get off task and so easy to just go find something else to do. But for me, it was really easy because I just had to sit down and make sure I do my work. But a lot of students, it's hard for them. It's like their first time doing it and they don't have a choice but to do it that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a setup for students because they didn't see it coming, and then also neither did the teachers see it coming. So like they've been pretty much behind, not even like being introduced to technology and doing it on their computers, from what I know. So like I feel like it wasn't fair for them to like have to kind of learn how to use the technology, and then like also the teachers are trying to be effective, but then also be lenient towards the situation. And I feel like they weren't able to reap like the full benefit from like online learning because like I like to be hands-on and like learn in the classroom, but like, you know, not everybody's gonna react the same to that transition. So do you guys think it also like didn't reap any benefits for students learning online?
I mean, pretty much what you said. Like when I said I'm not learning, like I'm not necessarily saying everybody's not learning. I'm just saying I'm not learning because that's not how I'm like. I excel in the classroom. Like I can't learn by just like, I don't know, like through a computer looking stuff up. Like I'm more like face to face. Like this is how you solve it. This is how you like. I don't know.
I feel like that's the majority of students, though. It's easy for them to learn hands-on and be there in person because it's just way easier to understand. And since you're there, you have to basically learn. Even if you were slacking off, you're still there. I don't know. It is a setup, I feel like, because the students aren't used to doing virtual school at all. So it's just harder if you don't have the motivation to want to do it. So, and that's also something that not all students can learn. Like majority of students can't learn virtually, especially since it's such a new thing to them. So yeah.
I agree. I feel like, especially with the transition for like last school year and then going into this school year, it really just depends on like everybody's like environment. Cause like, I don't know, I can only speak on my perspective, but like for me, like being at the school I was at, like a lot of the times, I mean, just given that it's a private school, you know, most people like pay to go there. It's like we come from like different neighborhoods and different types of houses and environments. So it's like not everybody or everybody has like a desk for the most part at home. But then you have certain cases where like students like me, we don't have like an extra room or even room like in our room to like have a desk. So like pretty much my workspace is like my bed. And then so there'll be like awkward moments where like teachers, like you'll try to explain that to the teacher, but the teacher's not understanding like your situation. So they're like, oh, why don't you just go work at your desk or at the dinner table? But then a lot of times we don't have a desk or extra space, or not everybody has like an office space or extra 3-4 rooms in their house. So it's like, for me, like it was like cool to learn, but like with me, like just like sitting in my bed, like I said, for 15 plus hours, like it was pretty like stressful. Just cause not even just cause it's like 15 plus hours of work, but it's like in the same environment. Like I'm literally getting up, it's daytime outside, I see that through my window, and then I'm still working and it's daytime again. Yeah. And it's like
true. The environment that you sleep at. Like I was lucky enough because we have like a learning space in my house, so we could all just go to the table and then like get to do our work. So it was easier to focus and feel like I'm in a learning environment. But for a lot of students, not everybody does have that. So it is a lot harder to learn. I feel like just your little siblings, like you don't know what people's home life is either. So they could be dealing with a lot of stuff at home. And that could also be a factor of why you can't even do school and you can't even focus. And a lot of people also have to watch, say, their siblings or like other kids. And you don't know how people's parents are with them, just their home life in general. So it is really hard for people to learn, especially not knowing their circumstances. And I feel like the district and just the school system in general isn't sensitive to that at all and doesn't really work with that and think about how it could affect students. But yeah.
You guys feel like it some way like forced parents to become educators or teachers in a way?
You said parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it could have like an influence, but I feel like if somebody was to be like, I wish I was homeschooled, I hate school, like all those people growing up, they kind of got exposed when the COVID hit, because I was one of those kids who said, I wish I was homeschooled, and school at home is not it. It's not lit. It's not fun.
Yeah, my mom, she had to, wake up my sister to like have her on like kind of a bell schedule. So like she would like get up and then like have her go to like the living room or something to watch like some kind of like lecture. But she would have control over what she was teaching. So like that, I like that she was teaching like, social justice kind of stuff and like just stuff about the system. But like, yeah, she had to take responsibility because like the teachers, like my sister was just sleeping. So she wasn't following along with stuff, or she'll log on and then she'll go to sleep. Mm-hmm. And so like, it wouldn't be effective for her. So yeah, parents definitely had to like, some parents, they had to take action and like take it upon themselves to educate their children during that time.
Also, yeah, I feel like a lot of parents don't have the option to even be a teacher for their children or, their student, because a lot of parents don't have the education to help their students. Also, a lot of parents have to work when their kids are in school. So the kids are pretty much left on their own, basically. The most a parent could do is probably just set it up for them. Some parents are like essential workers too and aren't there at all. So the students are left on their own, don't know what to do. And yeah, a lot of parents can't even help their students because they don't understand it. Parents haven't, even if they do, some parents haven't been in school for 10 plus years, and they don't understand what their kids are learning anymore. So it's just really hard, I feel like.
Do you think, given like all of that and also like just having extra time, what do you think is the connection between the impacts of COVID-19 and community violence?
I can speak on I'll say like, as far as like youth, like the increase in violence, like I feel like that's because with COVID-19, like especially I can only speak for like Washington and Seattle, but like we didn't really know what we were doing, I'll say for like the first like 2-3 months, like as a community. So not even just like the government, but just us. And I feel like one, it's like schools, if they're not effectively communicating or they don't have a plan in place, and so like pretty much everybody's outside of school and nobody's taking the virus seriously because they don't really know about the virus, then they're just going to go do whatever. And that leaves so much free time. And then when certain groups that are in our communities or like certain organizations, clubs, whatever the case may be, aren't in effect in our community because of COVID-19, then there's still nowhere for us to go. And then so I feel like that just, I don't know, it just made more room for like more activity pretty much.
Yeah, like, well, I know like ever since COVID came, like a lot of people were getting away with crimes because the police weren't responding to everything. Like the police weren't, like because of COVID, like they were like limiting like everything, like how the hospital wasn't, like you couldn't just go into the hospital and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, and I also feel like a lot of kids or just everybody in general had a lot of free time to do whatever, be out, cause more drama, whatever it is. Because, when kids are in school, they're always focused on school. But there could be internet beef, internet thugs, linking up in person. Like, you don't know. But I feel like a lot of people just had more time to be out, and it causes a lot more drama, I feel like. And there's not really much to do. So a lot of beef just stirs up, I feel like. And it could be violence and just drama in general. And I feel like
Could
school-
even be the reflection of like the lack of resources
Mhm.
or even like the instability with their financial like structure around that, like, you know,
Yeah.
the pandemic and all that.
Yeah. Facts. Because I know money is hard for a lot of people too. So you don't know what people could be out here doing to, you know, get a quick buck or whatever. But I feel like some people didn't know the resources, so they feel like they had to do what they had to do to provide for themselves and even their family. So yeah.
Yeah, to add on to that, I feel like COVID-19 has also like exposed like a lot of like inequities in the community, as like Miracle mentioned earlier. But then also like it really gave us a chance to really look at like our relationships and interactions with just the government and systems just in general. Like for example, when we had the help me out again, the mandatory like mask, what's the official name for it? No, not the stay at home order, but basically when Governor Inslee essentially just made it mandatory to wear a mask in public.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
So like our interaction with the police were like very, for people of color, at least in Black and brown, it's like more aggressive with the police versus like I'll see a video somewhere in like North Seattle, like Green Lake, and you got police like handing out masks. So it's like, okay, so why don't the police here in South King County, and South Seattle like have the same interactions with us? And then a lot of the times too, it's like when we shop at like our local grocery stores, so whether that be like a QFC, Safeway, grocery outlet, or Albertsons or Costco. I mean, you guys know where I'm going.
Yeah.
Like pretty for the most part, it's like when everybody's freaking out about COVID-19, these are like our essential like grocery stores. So everything's running out. So like we don't even know where to get a mask because it's sold out. We're already struggling with money, so we're not going to pay like I'm not going to pay $10, $15 for a mask. I don't know about you guys, right? Especially like a disposable mask. So it's like,
Nope. Not at all.
so I felt like a lot of those situations were like out of our hands. And it just, I don't know, it's just really hard in the community. Because at the same time, it's like we're out here searching for these resources because we don't have them in the first place, but we're being punished for not having the resources. But that's not our fault.
Mm-hmm. Like if you want to make that law, at least provide it to every household in Washington then. Or at least areas that can provide it for themselves. But I know now masks are mandatory. So now we finally have enough masks to just give out now. Because I know I went to Safeway and they was just handing them out. Like forcing people to have them basically now. But I know before in the beginning, I'd be like, can I get a mask? They're like, no, you can't come in. I'm like, I don't got a mask though.
So, being that and talking about like community violence, how has like the uptick of violence in the neighborhood impacted youth? If you guys recognize an uptick in violence.
I say like it's not like, I don't know, it's not safe. Like it's a lot of misdirection and like misguiding going on. Like a lot of the youth are looking up to the wrong people, honestly, because they don't like, I don't know, like when you're young, it's easy to just like see, like they don't, I don't know. There's a lot of misguiding going on, really. Like misdirection. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel similar to Franco. Like for me, like I don't know, like over the course of the pandemic, so like the last 8 months from like March and November, like people I personally knew, like 3 people died and passed on. And like, you know, just looking at their situation, like it felt like the city like just didn't care about us. And like these like community organizations that say that they care about us, like don't really care about us, because it's like we're over here and I'm coming out my pocket. And it's like I'll always come out my pocket for like my friend's like funeral or something, but it's like this shouldn't like be the case. It's like their mothers can't even afford to pay for their funeral, their families can't afford to pay for their funerals, and it's just like really sad to like look over and like reflect over that. Like we're really in this situation where like we're trying to help our community, but at the same time it's like we as individuals don't even have like a whole lot like physically to like help our community.
Yeah.
Definitely has to come from the city. If us as a community don't have the resources to help each other, it definitely has to come from the, the higher ups apparently in the city. Yeah.
Oh no, even adding on to that too, it's like, for example, so reaching beyond our community and looking more into like police brutality, that was like something that was like really highlighted, especially with COVID-19 and these new laws and policies being in place because of COVID-19. It's like a lot of these like foundations and a lot of these the city itself, and then like a lot of these organizations or companies like have like this new like affirmative action wave going on, because it's like with the protests are putting so much pressure on them to like change and reform like their company and system and like their policies, to where I feel like it's like more of like a guilt trip or like more of like a guilt like move. So I feel like a lot of these companies like aren't very intentional about I don't know, just our well-being as like people of color like in their systems. And I feel like, because at the same time, it's like no matter what system, I feel like we've always like had like some type of activist or some type of like movement going on within these companies, the city, and organizations, where not only police brutality, but like, lack of funding or lack of resources, we've always like talked about this. But then it's like you want to do something now, like 20 to 40 years later. This seems kind of weird to me. That's it.
I kind of want to highlight, to end us off for today, like aside from like the negative impacts of COVID, I feel like some highlights of COVID would be like that our community is kind of like more awake, I would say, like in terms of, when one side of town, like West Seattle or some, is having a problem, we all need to come together and help out with that. So like, for example, when we had that rally with like, that was pretty much unifying the CD, the South End, the West, all that. Like, I feel like that was like a highlight that not only shows that we don't need, I guess, police to police us. We police ourselves pretty much as a community. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about that? Like, what do you guys take away from that event?
I feel like it was really good that all the communities could come together and work together, and they was just hoping something was about to go down so that they could pull up. Like, I seen a couple cops, pull up to try to see if anything was gonna happen.
There was
just
none
so they could cause
inside.
something. But people would be thinking, just praying that like, oh, yep, it's in the South End, and everybody from all these communities is coming together. There's definitely going to be something happening. But it was a peaceful rally. I just liked how everybody came together to like fight what they believed in and advocated for, and it was just a really nice thing. And
there was like over 20,000 people there.
Right, and
It was
nothing bad happened at all.
Right.
And we didn't need no police there to say they helped or anything. I feel like it was perfect.
I ain't gonna cap. There was a little incident that happened. My uncle's truck. So there, I'll just give a quick, rundown of everything. But there was like some kind of, spotlight situation. People were fighting over some petty. But anyways, away from that, we happened to like, resolve it ourselves. We didn't have to rely on no police. No. We didn't call nobody. It was all within ourselves. We squashed it. It was hashed out. That was within our own people.
Yeah.
Like, we did it. So I feel like that shows that we can, again, police ourselves.
Yeah.
Although we do need, but yeah.
We had to be safe, bro. So it was cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, we had like the only thing to us like that could mess it up were a couple outsiders that just didn't like what was going on and seeing all these people come together, which are haters,
Right.
period.
Right.
And I just feel like those people just didn't like what they were seeing. And I seen the police come through too. They was hoping something could go down so they could just pull their whole little squad up or whatever.
No.
But we didn't need them. We did our own thing. We handled it. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for joining us on our third episode of the Youth Insider Podcast from the Inside Out. Sudi, how can they reach us?
Don't forget to follow us at SRV Youth Insider on Instagram to stay updated about our podcast and different events. And,
We're out
Tune
here.
in.
Thank you.